Content creators appear to be everywhere at the moment, but what does it take to be really good at it? Sonya Chang is behind the account Sonya Bites Life. She moved to Taiwan from Seattle 2 years ago. Now, before she left the U.S., Sonya was recognized as a Zagat Foodie Award winner. She sat down with me to share her story in this week's edition of Taiwan Talk.
So when I first started creating content, there wasn't really content creators. I think the whole Instagram platform was still fairly new. And so I had just moved from New York to Seattle. And I honestly was just using my Instagram as kind of a way to catalog all of the places that I visited and to also share with my friends and family that were still living back on the East Coast. So I kind of just fell into it unknowingly without actually having any goals or motivation specifically, because back then, like, restaurant collabs and partnerships weren't even really a thing. People were just kind of experimenting with the platform and trying to see different ways that they could share information and build community around that.
But it's changed a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about the changes and tell me how you've responded to those changes.
Sure. So I think over the past decade, it's really just become more of a marketing tool. I think that there's still a wonderful opportunity for people to create community, especially on various niche topics. So like I've seen people connect over different disabilities or causes or ideas. And I think that's really great. But from a perspective of people who create content, I think there's a lot of people that now have turned this idea of sharing into a business, and so I think that's been the biggest change. There's still that sharing aspect, but then now a lot of people are utilizing it as a way to make revenue or to promote their businesses. And so I think that's kind of the evolution of the platform.
How have you been able to adapt to all these changes in the way that you do things and the way that you present your information?
Yeah, so I think from just like a silly perspective, just having to adapt with all the different mediums and formats. So going from taking photos that look like Polaroid pictures to having like finely edited and curated feeds to integrating, I think there was like stop motion video. The videos used to have to be very pristine, and now people want to see more of that unedited kind of slice of life content. So just from a content perspective, having to learn or teach myself different ways to capture media and kind of move with the trends. So that's been like a really big thing for me, I think, because it's changed so frequently. And also how Instagrams or any social media platform, really, how like the algorithm has changed, going from like chronological to now being fine-tuned to personalization and really kind of homing in on how you want to position yourself. Whereas before you would just do whatever kind of felt good to you. Now, depending on how seriously you take content creation, you really have to think about what you want to share, who your target audience is. So in some ways, you still get to be creative based on the changes in the medium, but some of that creativity gets scaled back if you start thinking of it from a business perspective, which is kind of how I guess it's transitioned in some ways for me.
Can you think of the most interesting thing that's happened to you since you started doing this?
Oh, gosh. Well, this is pretty interesting. This is
Aside from this,
I've had a lot of just fun opportunities. I haven't had anything that's been like wild, like crazy PR trips, but I've collaborated in Seattle. I had a community of friends and creators, and also amongst the restaurants there supporting small businesses. So I've had an opportunity to like collab with some local restaurants to create like my own desserts. I had a chance to meet Rick Bayless. I had just various, opportunities to be on the news, to talk about how I take my photos, just little things that I've had an opportunity to do in kind of that Seattle Pacific Northwest community to bring people together around food. I used to host meetups where it wasn't about like content creation, but it was just about bringing a bunch of people together that just really loved food, and we all had similar ideals, and it was really great just to like have a bunch of people from different backgrounds come together and celebrate food and different restaurants and stuff. So yeah.
I mean, you've had to take all that experience and that wonderful kind of deep knowledge and the recognition you got in Seattle and come to somewhere new like Taipei. What has that transition been like for you?
I would say the transition's been pretty interesting. I think twofold. So learning about the local community here, having a huge language barrier, and wanting to showcase places that you wouldn't normally find in like tour guides and stuff. So it took a lot of time for me to engage and be active with the local community. And even though we don't speak the same language, I feel like I've been able to form some sort of online friendships or bonds with like local KOLs and stuff here. And so that's just been like really interesting. The other thing that was really hard for me, I guess, just to be transparent, is it actually took me 2 years of grinding weekly in order to finally gain some traction, and to kind of have my content be seen by the right people that were actually looking for travel tips and advice in Taiwan. So I think just putting in the hard work and not giving up, even though sometimes I felt like it, that was also something that was just very challenging and new, because I honestly wasn't sure what to expect, what would happen, by moving here. So I think those are some of the things I kind of dealt with.
Okay, you've been doing this for a while. You've been recognized by Zagat, which is kind of a big deal, right? I mean, what is that like to reach a scale which I think a lot of content creators would love to achieve but never get?
So that was actually like a total surprise and pretty amazing. I think it was a while ago, but it was back when kind of content creation, especially around the food industry, was like up and coming. And so they had created a list of top 100 food influencers in the United States. And so it was just really unexpected. I was literally like getting awarded right next to like all these people that I looked up to and stuff. And so I think it was just, it was really special to me, and it was incredibly unexpected. And I think for that moment in time, it definitely helped me create some, I don't want to say credibility, but like that I was moving in the right direction. And I think it was really amazing. And honestly, it was one of the things I had moved into the food and beverage industry doing marketing for a small food company then. And I think it was actually one of the things that helped me get my job within that industry, because I was kind of able to talk about, my expertise and some of that. So it was actually kind of amazing because I was able to move into a career path that I really wanted to, and that kind of helped push me in that direction.
Okay, now we've talked about all the pluses. What are the biggest minuses you can see or you can talk about with regard to being a content creator?
Yeah, I think if you start moving in a direction where content creation becomes a business versus a hobby, I think the hard part is really creating boundaries for yourself. Like when I'm on vacation with my family, I'm always having to kind of like take a second thought, like, should I be capturing this moment or should I just be enjoying myself? And I think, comparison is a thief. When you look at other people and you've been doing this for a long time, it can definitely be challenging when you're like, feeling a little disappointed that you're not, getting the same types of engagements or opportunities. It can definitely be hard. And like I said, like you're kind of constantly grinding and you're always having to learn new platforms, new algorithms, new technologies, and always staying abreast of all of the different trends and changes. And so it can really become like a 24-hour time suck, and you can end up being on your phone and not being present in real life way more than you mean to. And I think that's definitely like a huge downside as a content creator.
Your job is a job that I think is probably more envied than mine will ever be. What would you say to all the young people who want to do what you do versus what I do?
I would say, like, if you're young and this is something you want to do, I mean, I think everyone's advice is just to go for it, right? But I think, it's twofold. I think you should go for it, but go for it thoughtfully. Sometimes I think we can put a lot of ourselves out there on the internet for public display. And I guess this is the mom and me speaking. Just sometimes something should be for you and your family and stuff, and other things you should share with other people to provide value to the public. And so I'd say if you're a young creator, just be thoughtful, because you don't always need to do stuff for likes or engagement. You can thoughtfully put out content that adds value without kind of devaluing yourself. I don't know if I'm saying it the right way, and I'm not trying to be demeaning at all. I just want people to know and encourage them to do things that feel good to them and authentic, but in a way that also protects them in the future, and to be safe and mindful of those things, if that makes sense.
I was going to ask you, there's a trend of people going out and trying to get into restaurants in exchange for cash. What do you make of all that?
So I think, I would say, I think it's the evolution of marketing. And so I think it's fine as far as that goes. I think that people need to really look at it as a serious transaction. I mean, I can just give you perspective from what I experience and how I work with partners. So I'm kind of at the stage where I don't necessarily just do deals via DM. Like, if a restaurant says, hey, do you want to come visit me? I'm more of the person that likes to run my partnerships like an actual business. So if someone contacts me, generally I like to take it offline, off of DMs. I like to give them my official email. I like to have a contract written up. I like to have requirements, and I like to treat it like I am their advertorial. So when that happens, I like to be clear with my audience that this is an advertisement, and that I'm giving them exposure on my accounts. And sometimes that will be a little different than when I self-pay and go somewhere and give my honest review. And so I just try to make it clear, because I think the challenge is, in this day and age, people need to make this more as a professional business instead of just a quick exchange, because I think that's where either the influencer or the restaurant owner can both become misunderstood or confused around the parameters of what the agreement is. And that's how people leave with a sour taste in their mouth. And I think we have been doing this for over a decade now, and it should be to the point where if you're a restaurateur, you have your advertising budget, which may be a soccer sponsorship, a flyer, Google ad campaign, and then your influencer marketing. And on the same thing, if you're an influencer, you should also treat it like a business and not just on the fly say, hey, I'll give you treat it as a business. Create your own contracts. Say, I'd love to come visit your restaurant. It seems like a really good fit for my audience. This is who my audience is. These are my stats. These are my, rates. And let's try to elevate it and make it more of a professional transaction. So that way everyone can work together and collaborate happily and be in harmony, because, food influencers, content creators are only here because the restaurants put out good food for us to try and share with people. And then on the flip side, unfortunately, because of the way that marketing and advertising have really transitioned, you cannot be a restaurant this day and age without doing some sort of digital marketing. So I think it's smart for restaurateurs to also educate themselves on digital marketing tactics and what will work best for their restaurant, and then to really treat it as like a more professional button-up part of their business as well.
You were listening to Sonya Chang of Sonya Bites Life. I'm Hope Go. You can find past episodes of Taiwan Talk on your favorite platform. Thank you for tuning in.